Record to computer. All right, let's get it. Welcome to the beginners Q&A or regular Q&A, where I'm just gonna come on real quick, answer some questions. Hopefully you guys can learn something. Even if you don't have questions, it's all good. You'll have somebody else's question and we'll answer it and get it going for you. So I'm popping the chat. If you have questions, put them in the chat. I'll go through the chat, have the chat open the whole time. If you want to speak and kind of have more of a conversation regarding something, we can do that. Just raise your hand. So we're not having a bunch of random people unmuting all across the time of the Zoom. And then lastly, I'm not going to be doing any charting on this because that's going to end up taking us down a big rabbit hole, so I'm trying to avoid that. But any concept questions, principle questions, questions for me about my trading style, questions for the group chat, I'll be happy to go ahead and address those for you. So popping in the chat, we're going to look at what this is. Yeah, you can ask your question. So when I use an EMA, do I use a 20, 50, or a 120? Very rarely do I use EMAs. Very rarely do I use EMAs. If I do use an EMA, typically I'm just throwing a 200 EMA on there. And that's just gonna let me look at the longer term trend on whatever time frame I'm on. So I've transitioned over, and I see that hand, Kendrick. I've transitioned over from a swing trader into now this year, like January is my first time being a full-time options day trader. And then I started to become more on the scalp side as well. So EMAs, I don't use them a lot. Like I said, if I do, it might be a 200 and I'll trade in the direction of that. All right, so if I'm trading calls, if I do throw an EMA on, and lately I haven't because I've been trading off a price action off the 1 minute, then I'll just try to trade in the direction of the EMA. So if the stock is above the EMA, the 200 EMA, then I'll go calls, right? When I have my entry, but I won't be looking for put entries most likely. So that's pretty much it for EMAs. Oh, dang, come on, put some questions in the chat. I got Kendrick with your hand raised. Go ahead and unmute, bro. What's up?
Hey, Jourdan, what's going on?
How you doing?
Question that I have it pertains to trading based on price action. I know the Friday night class that you had a couple of weeks ago, when you was doing it. I guess my question is there a certain amount of times that you want to see the candle hit the trend line before you decide, okay, I'm going ahead and enter now? Let's say you have a downtrend, a ticker that's downtrending, and let's say it hit the trend line 2 times. Do you enter on the second one, or do you wait to kind of get a stronger confirmation before you enter?
Great question, bro. So if I'm looking at something that's a trend line, typically what I'm looked at in the past is I've entered off of 3. So I'll see the test, because of course, realistically, you don't really have a true trend line until you have 3 touches. From what I've seen, and in my opinion, it takes 3 to really consider it a true trend line. 1 time it's nothing, right? Because that's the first wick, or that's the first candle. So there's nothing there. The second time you see a little retest, but the third time, now I know this is actually a line that's going to show me trend because it's continuing to hold suit. So I'll enter off of that third one if I'm doing an aggressive entry. And that's where I'll have a heavier position when I'm entering off of that, because I can place my stop loss right above or right below that trend line. And if we take out a new high, or a new low, right, based on the trend line, I can go ahead and get out. And that might be a 2%, 3%, no more than maybe a 5 or 6% loss. 3 to answer the question.
Okay, thanks.
Of course, bro, great question. All right, I got something in the chat. And it said, if something pulls back, do I look at the squeeze on a higher time frame? So great question. Lately, and this is where everybody kind of has their own different, trading strategies and systems. Lately, I've been trading just on the 1 minute. Rarely am I opening the 5, which is kind of, and conceptually, it just seems weird to think about, because I just came from swing trading and then I came to day trading, where my day trading strategy was looking at the 30 as was looking at the 30-minute as like a bigger time frame, and then trading off the 5 minutes. So now that I'm trading strictly off 1 minute, I'm not looking at higher time frames so much as I'm just trying to have extremely precise and tight entries and exits. So you could look at the higher time frames. I do think that looking at multiple time frames gives you a better idea of what's going on, because you can look at, you know, a different trend. You can look at a different time period and see, okay, I'm trading this intraday call, but if the stock is on the hourly in the downtrend and on the 4 hour in the downtrend and on the daily in the downtrend, at least that triggers for me to know maybe this wouldn't be something to potentially swing if I feel like maybe taking a swing. I'm not going to swing this because I know overall we're moving down. Got another one. Hey, keep putting your questions in the chat or raise your hand. There's no problem. Do I have a formula on how much I allocate towards each trade? Is it a certain percentage of my portfolio, or random depending on how confident I am in the trade? So it's systematic, but not so systematic where I could try to write down some specific rules. So typically, depending on my trade entry, and again, this is shifting. So I'll give you two answers, because shifting to my scalping on the 1 minute, I can take heavier position sizes because my stop loss might really just be a 30-cent move, right? So overall, I'm looking at how much of my actual account am I risking per trade, right? And so the example I gave a couple of weeks ago was, you know, if you're using if you're looking at $1,000 account and you say you don't want to risk more than 5% of your account on a trade, right? You don't want to lose more than $50 because that's 5% of your account. So if you take a $1,000 trade on your $1,000 account, your stop loss is 5%, right? But if you have a $50 limit loss per trade and you take a $100 trade, you have a 50% stop loss now. So it varies based on the trades. When I was swing trading, usually it would be 10% of my account size. And that was because I was more focused in on what I was doing. So it varies. But I do think depending on your length of holding, right, you can go deeper into a contract that has a further out expiration than a weekly, right? So it's a same day expiration like I traded on SPY today. You don't want to go too heavy. I'm not going to go too heavy because I know within an instant, I can go from up 10% to down 30%. So 0 DTE, I'm a lot smaller on position size. Whereas if I'm trading something that's a month out, I can go 20% deep if I really have faith in the position, if I have a month or 2 months out. So good question for that. As a new trader, I've seen about 150 different tickers in the Discord. That's a lot. Too hard to track, but too few, and I may not have enough to find a good entry. For a new trader, how many tickers is a good amount where I can have a good chance at a good entry? Cool. So good question, Kevin. And yeah, bro, we have a lot of traders in the chat. So naturally, you probably are going to see a bunch of different tickers, right? There's two different ways that I see when it comes to that type of question to handle it. So you have one end where you can just stick to a basket of about 5 different stocks, right? And you could spread it across different industries and sectors as well. So that way you're exposed, whether, you know, the retail sector is moving, whether tech is moving, whether industrials are moving, you have exposure because you're looking at CAT, or you're looking at AMD, or you're looking at whatever, right? So you can have a basket of maybe 5 stocks that you continuously watch. And a prime example of that is the Kroger chat in the chat, where people were just consistently trading Kroger. And so there's enough people consistently trading Kroger where we created a Kroger chat. We're not adding a bunch of new chats similar to that. But to your point, you can stick to that. And when you start learning the stock, it gets a lot easier to have kind of like gut feelings where you just know, you know, typically this stock doesn't go up 5 days in a row like this. And I don't see any catalyst that would cause that. So now I'm thinking, well, maybe it's going to drop down because it's never done this, right? So that's one way. And I think that's the best way for beginners. If you're a beginner who isn't trying to deep dive and get all analytical, get all nitty gritty, and go that route, it's kind of like more, how can I fully like get deep with this, right? Me on the other hand, And the other way I think you can go about it is being a strategy-based trader, right? So you can be a stock-based, and this is my like kind of loose thinking, or more strategy-based, where for me, I don't really care what ticker it is, if it fits my criteria for a trade, right? So regardless of ticker, if it's a stock that's in an uptrend, bouncing off support level with a hammer candle, and it pushes above that hammer on the next candle that opens, I'm cool with hopping in because I know I'm trading with the trend, I'm trading off support, and I'm trading off a bullish candle. So I don't care if it's SPY or QQQ or whatever ticker. That's something for me where I'll be like, okay, cool, I'm gonna trade this. Of course, I want volume and liquidity, but that's me. So I've also tested tons of strategies, and I've been trading for 10 years. So I have more knowledge of what makes sense for a logical trade across different trades. So I think as a beginner, try to focus in, get used to maybe 5 different stocks, and then you can start expanding them, or you can stay to those. And there's people who are successfully trading, and they only trade 3 or 4 stocks over and over again. Andre said, how would you define my scalping strategy with a break of support resistance and a break of trend? Great question, bro. And like I said, I'm not going to be running charts on this Zoom. This is just going to be Q&A, no charts, because charts is going to have us going out to left field. But to answer the question, I would say look at the class. I put it in my channel today, where I actually linked to the class I taught 2 weeks ago on how I'm trading off the 1 minute with support and resistance and trend lines. And then I actually put a step-by-step breakdown of what I was looking at on SPY today on that trade that went 400%. Right? And so I was sending screenshots based on what I was seeing. So when it comes to it, to give you an answer now, I'm just looking at the market structure, bro. I'm looking at, are we making higher highs? Are we making higher lows? Are we making higher lows? Like, what combination of these things are we having? And then from there, I'm just applying the same chart patterns that you apply on a 30-minute or a 1 hour or a 1 day time frame. I'm applying them on a smaller time frame. So you'll go through my past trades and you'll see I'm trading multiple times. I'm trading ascending triangles or descending triangles and those breakouts, right? Like today on SPY, I talked about we were already in puts, already up maybe 80% or something. And I said, we're consolidating. And I think we were up 20% maybe at that point. I don't know. But we were consolidating. And I said, okay, we're probably going to break out in one of these directions, right? And then after the breakout, we're going to retest and then continue that way, right? And that could be another trade entry. And we broke out to the downside after that consolidation period where the stock moved sideways.
You go do your priority.
We broke out to the downside, and then we retested, came back up to that resistance or that bottom of that consolidation period, and then we continued down. So check my channel, but that's pretty much it. It's just understanding how price works and how it moves and applying it to a smaller chart. When learning the chart, what's best tips to learn? Okay, you're learning to chart. What are some good tips to learn as a new options trader? You've seen people chart the same tickers, but have way different support and resistance levels. Any best ways to chart? All right, so regardless of whether you're trading options or you're trading shares, I mean, the chart is the chart, all right? So with options, because you have all the Greeks involved in time and all that, you would be more inclined to trade breakout patterns or momentum trades. They present a better chance for you to make more money than trading in a consolidation period, right? Which is where when you're swing trading, you can do that though. So I would say the reason people have different lines on the charts is they're charting on different time frames, right? Moody will be charting on a daily, and you can break it down, right? You can go monthly, weekly, daily. I personally clear off all my lines at the end of the day, and I start fresh. So usually I don't take trades until after the first 30 minutes, because after the first 30 minutes, and I'm trading on a 1 minute chart, I have at least 30 pieces of price data to go off of. So I'm gonna have a support, I'm gonna have a resistance level, and I might have a trend line already set after the first 30 minutes. I'm trading on the 1 minute. All right, but my lines are gonna look different on the 1 minute versus the 4 hour versus the weekly. So that might be why you're seeing that. But I would say as a new person, start with trend And that's just looking at from left to right. Are we going, sideways? Are we staying in the same area? Are we doing something where we're going more, top to bottom, left to right? Are we going top to bottom or bottom to top, right? And then from there, you're just looking at connecting the dots. And that's kind of like its simplest form is, where am I seeing the wicks line up? On what levels am I seeing price continuously have some sort of function around? So am I seeing price continuously bounce off of this $100 area? Cool, that's support. Is it going up to 105 and it's continuously bouncing down? Cool, that's resistance. Is it moving sideways within this 102 to 105 range, kind of bouncing up and down between that? Okay, cool. So that's kind of a consolidation period or consolidation range. And I could trade in and out of that, but I'm also knowing that consolidation and low volatility leads to periods of higher volatility. So after it's consolidating in this range, I know eventually it's going to break out. And usually the longer it consolidates, the bigger the breakout would be. So start with support and resistance, bro. Don't get too worried about indicators, which is what a lot of people do. And a lot of people think the secret sauce is 15 different indicators. We'll talk about, I'm sure somebody's going to ask the question when I scroll down and say, what indicators do you use? But just try not to get too caught up in that because there's thousands of indicators and there's different indicators people have created. So after you get outside of the regular ones, you have ones that, if you're on TradingView or TOS, like other people who aren't that big have created their own. So don't get lost in the sauce, bro. Your under 25K day trade limit. Is your account better to be in margin or cash? Weibull only gives you 3-day trades a week on margin. Any brokerage is only going to give you 3-day trades a week on margin as long as you're in the US. So if you're trying to day trade with less than if you're trying to day trade with less than $25,000, then you're going to want to go to a cash account. And that can be Weibull, Tastyworks, TD Ameritrade. Pretty sure E-Trade has it too. Or you want to trade on an international account because that PDT rule is an American rule, not applied to international brokerages. So do one of those. Robinhood doesn't allow options trading on their cash accounts, which is why we always talk about getting off of Robinhood, because you will be stuck in that spot. And it's a lot of times where you're going to either bite the bullet and close the trade, get the flag, and then now you can't trade on Robinhood more. So take it from me. I've been locked out of my Robinhood account from buying new trades multiple times. And that's part of the reason I have accounts across different platforms, along with other reasons. So I say switch off. And on Weibull, just go to, when you open the Weibull app, and you go to your your home screen where you can see your portfolio, there's a button at the top right that says details. Click that and then scroll. All right, I used to know where it was by heart. I don't know where it is no more. But if you just look up how to change it, you'll be able to see it. And you'll be able to go ahead and adjust the account type. It used to be on that screen. I don't know where it is now. All right, for my strategy, do I use a scanner or FinViz to find tickers that match my criteria? Not anymore, because I'm day trading off the 1 minute. I don't have FinViz Premium, which does allow intraday, but I'm not. Great question, Kevin, again. And what y'all gonna learn about me and my trading over my trading journey, I've continuously worked to make it simple. It's like as simple as possible as far as concept. So I don't look at news. I don't look at upgrades. I don't care what the Fed is doing or Jim Cramer or Jim Rome or Jerome. I really don't care. Interest rates, it doesn't matter to me because of how I've structured my trading and how I trade. So I don't really use scanners anymore either. I used to, and even when I started day trading, I would use scanners that I set up to find potential day trades based on today's price action. But now I just let the market do what it does, because today's making plans for today or for yesterday based off today can change overnight, because we can have after hours movement that's unexpected. We can have pre-market movement that's unexpected and can completely undo my original analysis. So I don't even look at scanners like that anymore unless I'm looking for swings, which I don't do often anymore. But Yeah, you can use FinViz for swing trading. It's a great one for that. And I say I like Profits Pie as well, but FinViz is going to give you the best.
I'm sitting with him.
Sitting, so sitter.
Yes.
All right, how much money do you need to start with as a newbie? I would say first thing first would be paper trade, just to get used to trading as a whole, right? Get used to entering and exit trades, getting used to, doing analysis and seeing things and entering those positions. Learn market orders, or different types of orders. Learn about stop limit orders, stop market orders, limit orders, right? Understand those concepts before you start putting money up. And then I would say what you want to do is I usually say start with less than 1,000, just to get the basics down, right? So realistically, most people aren't going to be able to scale $1,000 account who are newer, like completely new. You're not going to be able to scale $1,000 account very fast, or maybe even at all, because there's not a lot of wiggle room depending on how you're trading it. But starting with $1,000 or $500 gives you a chance to have actual money in the account that you might have an emotional connection to, and feel what it feels to put your money out there, knowing you might not get it back, but knowing you might get more back, right? And so after you get used to trading with $500 or $1,000, then you can go ahead and move up to doing maybe $4,000 or $5,000 in your account and trading from there. Or after you learn how to use a $500 or $1,000 account, you can just trade that, right? If that's where your position allows you to be financially, then trade that, right? But I think it's best that you start with a small enough amount, like 500 or so, to get used to trading, but you don't want to start with so much that your beginner mistakes cause a detriment to your finances. How do you manage signals from all the analysts? Flipping and clicking every analyst message is very tedious. So there's a couple things you can do. One, you can pop into that section that says activate your alerts. And next week, we're going to be moving to where we're just using those. I had to go in and set them up after I brought on all the new analysts. So you have to go in there and you can choose who you want alerts for. And that way, when I tag Jordan's alerts, for example, you're getting it, right? So we're going to be moving away from the add everyone over time. But other than that, you can mute certain channels. You can hide certain channels in your Discord settings. And I'll try to make a point. Somebody going to remind me. I'll try to make a point to actually record how to do that so you can control that. Outside of that, I think that's what you meant was when you said managing the signals. Just look at who you're looking at, right? So if you're only following me, for example, then just look at what I'm doing, right? Don't worry about Zay's or Avery's, or if you're only following Zay and JJ because you trade smaller account size, just look at their channels, right? And there's people who, no one really matters, or no one's upset if you're just following JJ or Zay because you trade a smaller account, or you're just following Avery or Lethal because you just swing, right? So I said do that. You can mute certain channels, you can hide certain channels, and you go in there and actually control. Once we switch over next week, you control who alerts you'll get. What's the best way to go about entries on plays? And welcome everybody who's new. Go ahead and put any questions y'all got in the chat. I'm not doing any charts, but I am going to answer y'all questions. Raise your hand if you want to have a dialogue. That's fine. I just don't want everybody unmuting all at once. So what's the best way to go about entries on trades, not plays? I don't personally like calling them plays because this ain't no game. So Lauren, I'm gonna ask you to dive a little deeper for me. Are you talking about how would I view looking at trades that we're calling out, or just generally speaking, choosing an entry for your trade?
Generally speaking, in terms of something coming out of resistance or support.
Great, cool. So I would say your entry, I like to do my entries based off candlesticks. One thing that I am going to start looking into is the strat. Moody and D-Wiz do the strat. They've been teaching a lot of y'all the strat. I personally don't know the strat, but I've seen examples where I've traded based on my own analysis and it fell in line with something that also is with the strat. So I would say once you get an understanding of candlestick patterns, it becomes a lot easier to pinpoint your entry, because alone you could scalp candlesticks, but they don't hold as much weight because you can have a bunch of bullish engulfing candles in an overall downtrend, or hammer candles or whatever, right? So I would say once you start looking at those candlesticks, and you have your trend lines or your support and resistance, or your supply and demand zones, then you'll be able to start looking at how to enter better, because you're just basing it off of the candlestick, right? If we have a bullish engulfing candle that closes at $100.10, once I get a move above $100.20, I see that we're continuing the bullish move, and then I'll enter. And that's as simple as I like to keep it. Usually 10 to 20 cent move, depending on the stock, right? If it's a $10 stock, I'm not looking for a 10-cent move to trigger an entry. I don't even trade stocks that low, but you want to be relative to the stock size as well. But the candlesticks is where I would say to do it. Does that help?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Of course, good question. Am I looking at the trend only on the 1 minute and pre-market? Good question, Tracy. So usually when I'm on the 1 minute, I'll flip between pre-market and not having pre-market on. That's something I'm still kind of catching like the vibe of how I want to go about it. Sometimes the pre-market shows you price data, right? So I'm gonna take into account that there was this level of support that was held, overnight or in the morning, right? Or a level of resistance. But yeah, when I'm trading the 1 minute, looking at highs and lows, trend, support and resistance. And I'm entering off of that. That's really it, right? We're making higher highs and lower highs. That means we're in an uptrend, right? So if I see that in this period, we're making higher highs and lower highs. Once we have a pullback and then we make a new higher high, I can get in right there. Or I could be a little more aggressive. And once we put in a lower high, then I think we're going to make a new higher high, right? Which will be continuing trend. Then I will go ahead and enter there. So yeah, I'm looking at that higher highs and lows, really, just playing off of that. Don't try getting everything. That's always the first mistake for new traders. Yeah. Don't try to get in every single trade you see somebody call out in the group. Don't try to get in every trade y'all see somebody call out. I always say, see the trade and then look at it yourself and do your due diligence. That's why a lot of times I try to go live when I'm trading a 1 minute or the 5 minute, because by the time I call the trade, after I've done my analysis, I call the trade. Realistically, if you want to follow along and then you go look at the chart and then you try to pop back to your brokerage, it's already up or down 20%, right? So that's why I try to do lives, or I'll send in screenshots like I did today. If I'm not getting on live, I'll send in screenshots, kind of update you. So don't chase everything, especially if you're new to the Discord. I always recommend just kind of sitting on the wall for a second. Even if you take 3 days and just see how people trade, right? See how Avery's trading, what types of trades she's taking, how long she's staying in them, what kind of stop loss and take profit is she doing? How does she communicate those trades to the group, right? And that's same with me, JJ, Moody, anybody, right? Because if you are looking at what we're doing and using us as guides, then you want to find somebody that most fits your trading style and your comfortability, right? So yeah, don't rush to take everybody's stuff. Moody, you're not doing a class next week on support and resistance. You're off next week. And don't unmute yourself either and try to fight me. I'm very, very new to trading. I've been trying to trade stocks on my own, just jumping in whatever I see in an uptrend. Ooh. Long term, do you think it's more profitable to trade options or trade stocks frequently throughout the day? Great question. Long term, it depends on, internet connection unstable. We should be good though. Long term, it's going to depend on your ability to be consistent and disciplined, and withdraw your profits and all of that thing, right? So how you manage it. And I think what the safest thing to do would be to use options to feed into your stock account, because it's lower risk, right? And so you can have an options account where maybe you trade with $10,000, maybe you trade with $1,000, right? But let's say even if you get an extra $100 a week, you're slowly but surely building that other account up, and it's a much lower risk. So I say whatever you educate yourself about the most and get the most practice with and can be the most disciplined with is the ones you're going to be the most profitable with. do I have any initiative of taking $500 to $5,000? That'll be super helpful. I don't. Zay and JJ are planning to do a account where they'll be trading a $500 account. The thing is, you don't want to come into it thinking about doing something like that. Like, you're literally saying you want to 10x your money, which is doable and it's fine, right? But people, more often than not, when you go into it with that mentality, you're also not thinking like, okay, I want to do this in a month. Like, most people are like, I want to take it in a month, right? Instead of, I'm cool with taking 4 months to 10x my money. That's still crazy, right? The market average year over year is about 10 to 11%. So it's going to take you a lot longer to 10x your money. So to answer your question, we are going to do a small account challenge again. I personally am not going to do it because that is just not me. I don't trade small accounts. So I tried it before. It didn't really work out because that's not how I trade. But yeah, I would say not to focus on 500 to 5,000, but just focusing on building and scaling a $500 account. And Nate's doing something with a $50 account too. I think right now he's got it up to 100. Nate's in the chat as the Bean Garden. So you can talk to him about smaller account sizes as well. Are there any tickers I recommend for a beginner? Like I mentioned, Kroger. Are there any that could be a bit simpler to figure out with, even if it's not as big as a profit? I would say if you're a beginner and you're trying to trade something, and beginner not directly meaning a smaller account size, but just a newer trader, I would say ETFs can be a lot easier to trade because they're going to move not slower per se, but there's a lot less volatility in an ETF because it's composed of so many different stocks. So something like Kroger, McDonald's, or anything, they could have one news event that causes a big jump or a big shift in what's going on. But with ETFs, even if a big component of those ETFs has an earnings announcement or something, you don't have to assume that it's going to cause a huge shift in the ETF's value. So I would say, look at trading ETFs, and that could be SPY, it could be QQQ, it can be VTI. Just find something that has a decent amount of volume behind it so that you don't have any problems with filling your orders. Dennis, 100%. If you ever lost money in the market, you know it plays no games. Exactly, bro. It's not a joke. Dennis said, when are Moody and I getting our Teslas? Bro, have you been trading with me? You should be close. But we're going to do the Tesla for Tesla, bro. I'm just trying to work some stuff out to make sure that once we go, we going, right? So trying out different stuff because I still want to be able to call those trades in the chat so that everybody can benefit. But then we might still have some things that are lives only. And I might do something where I'll trade maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday live because we might trade some same expiration SPYs like we did today. What's the best way to identify support and resistance lines? Is there a certain time frame I use? And would I recommend swing trading for a beginner over trying to jump right into day trading? Are the tickers that are better with swinging? Swinging across the board, maybe finding something that moves. If you're going to be doing just like equity positions, then you don't have to worry about having so much volatility because you don't have time to worry about. So we could take a 5% move. It could take 3 weeks to give you a 5% move on a stock. That's still good, right? Keep in mind, market average year over year is about 10%. So if you're capturing a 5% gain on a position in 3 weeks, then compared to just sitting in a long-term account, that's doing very well. I think jumping into options immediately as a beginner can be a little iffy because there's so much that comes into it, right? There's so many extra moving factors. So if you're new to the game and you're trying to trade options specifically, that's when you start with a smaller account size and you get used to executing orders, get used to finding trades, creating a trading plan, creating a trading system, creating your own trading rules. Even if you're looking at other people's trades, and that doesn't have to be this Discord, there's other services out there, people who call trades on Twitter, Stock Twits, all types of places. Creating your own rules for even if you're following other people's trades. Because at the end of the day, you have to make money, but you also have to not lose money. And not losing money is more important than focusing on how quick can I make some money. Because focusing too much on how quick I can make some money is the quickest way to lose money. And once you lose money, you don't have nothing else to start back up with, right? So keep that in mind. When it comes to support and resistance lines, it's just connecting the dots, right? So you'll see a bunch of wicks, and this will be something that will be good on a class where we are going to be looking at charts. But you'll see a bunch of different wicks, and you just connect those dots, right? I see that XYZ stock, keeps coming down to the $100 area and then popping back up, right? After it did that 2 times, I'm like, okay, that's a clear support, right? It goes off of 100 to 105. The last 2 times it hit 105, it pushed back down. That's a clear resistance, right? So you're just connecting the highs and lows horizontally and not vertically, just horizontally for support and resistance. And to keep in mind as well that they're not always hard price points, but they're more of kind of like areas, because there's a bunch of orders that are getting put in constantly and then orders that are sitting there. So you'll see that it might be like a 20-cent range. Maybe it's $100.15 to $99.05, where it comes down into that area before popping back up. And then you have different types of support and resistance that can be such as moving averages, right? You'll pull up a moving average on a chart and you'll see that sometimes the stock treats, sometimes it doesn't, treat certain moving averages as a potential support or resistance level as well. What's up, everybody? Glad you're coming in. Keep on popping in the chat with the questions. A minute. I trade on the 1 minute, which you love, but you got hosed in it as it reversed quickly. But another person told you to watch on 1 minute, confirm on 5-minute close, but that feels like you can miss the play as you've been in and out of trades on a 1 minute. You don't know what to do. Too many choices. So that's the thing, bro. When you're talking to people, when you're learning, anything you learning, bro, people are going to have different opinions. People are going to have different viewpoints, different perspectives, and different things that work for them. That could be sports, that can be a skill set, that can be cooking. Some people say, yeah, it says to put 4 cups of water, but really put 3.5, because you're going to have too much water if you do 4, right? Even though the recipe might call for 4, right? So you want to figure out what works for you. I'll try 4 cups of water. I'll try 3 cups of water. I'll try 3.5. I'll try just eyeballing it and seeing where I feel is right. All right. And you figure out what works. And then once you figure out what works for you specifically as an individual, that's what you can stick to. But using a higher time frame to confirm is a safer thing to do. That's the fact of the matter. It is a safer thing to do, right? So I don't have any problem with you doing that. I would say you looking at the 5 minute.
Yo, what's up?
Yeah, what's up, bro? Please mute yourself. Thank you, sir. So raise your hand if you want to have a dialogue with me, bro. But we're trying to lock in on Q&A and trying not to get off topic. So when it comes to that, use the 5 minute. You can use the 5 minute to figure out your big levels, and then you can enter off the 1 minute. That would be a lot safer. Can you apply support and resistance for the 50? Can you apply support and resistance or SMAs to Forex and currencies as well? Yeah. So at the end of the day, price is price, right? And orders are being placed, and institutions place orders across different types of markets as well. So you can do that. But of course, my biggest answer is look at it and see if it's viable, right? If you pull up something like Tesla, back when Tesla had a bunch of news all the time, it was making all these crazy movements, you could try, or Dogecoin is a better example. Dogecoin, you could try to do technical analysis on Dogecoin, but the reality of it is most of the time, Dogecoin was going to pop or drop off of some news. So there was really no point in trying to do TA on it too much, because it was just going to do whatever based off of news. So look at it and see whatever stock you're trading, whatever thing you're looking at, or cryptocurrency or Forex pair, just pull up the chart and then see if it makes sense. See if you can see clear support and resistance levels that have been continuously respected. See if you can find moving averages like the 20 or the 10 or the 5 or the 50 or the 200 or the 100 that have been shown to be support and resistance levels for that. Okay. Do we have Weibull? Do we have any videos on how to put in a trade on Weibull? We don't. Have been talking with the support team about doing some type of Zoom walkthroughs on certain platforms, since we encourage the use of certain platforms, so that it's easier for us to help y'all with them. But anything that's strictly based on a brokerage, because there's so many brokerages, I always recommend going on the website or going to YouTube and looking up a broker specific video, because I don't know, TD and E-Trade and Tastyworks and Robinhood and M1. You know, there's so many out there. I would say dig in on their own website. You see the weekly updates of options, but where are you calling the plays out beforehand? Is that something that you're missing on live, or is you missing something in Discord? Renee, if you're not seeing the channels where we have all of our call outs listed, if you're not seeing the channels where we have all of our call outs listed, then that means you either haven't upgraded your membership or you did sign up, but you didn't send that code to the Launchpass bot in your DMs to give you the actual access to all the channels, right? So we tried in the past, we did a lot of putting in our ideas in the watch list chart section. Like I just said earlier, I don't even make a watch list the day before anymore, or the week of anymore. Sometimes I can, and sometimes I do for people still, but more often than not, I'm going off of intraday. So I'm looking at what's going on and during the day, and then I'll actually look at it. And I've been trading the same stocks over and over again lately. So there's no real need for me to go in there and look at a bunch of stocks in the morning or at night when I'm just gonna pop open SPY and trade SPY or Tesla the next day. So there you go.
Really quick, thank you for that. I'm gonna message you really quick because I sent the payment, so I wanna make sure that I'm accessing everything I need to have.
Okay, Dean. Open a support ticket group and tag me in the support.
Okay, I was about to say, you want her to DM me?
Okay, it was the Cash App one. That works then.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Open a support ticket or tag me in a support ticket. Yeah. She said, I want her to DM me. You know them DMs. 3 days on DMs. 3 days. Hit up somebody on the team or tag me in a support ticket. So we'll be good on that. Let's see. More questions in the chat. How did I find my mentors when I first started, and how did they help me on my journey? The question is, did I have mentors on the journey? The answer is no. So part of the biggest kind of overall reason when it comes to what I do on the business side, right? Why I have courses that you can access for $19.99 a month that I consistently update every month, why we have a group chat that was just open for free for a month, and then we have all these people on the team, but it only costs $50 a month to come in, is because I ain't had nobody there, bro. You know, and just to like kind of be real about it, like I was growing up in Detroit. I moved to Jackson, Mississippi. I'm young, I'm African-American. Fact of the matter is, there's not a lot of people who, as a young African-American, I just readily had access to that could teach me this stuff. And when I was trading, we didn't have 50,000 people on Instagram and YouTube trying to teach us about trading and convince us to come look at their education. So I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I saw that he said, basically, if you're trying to, get in this wealth area and escape the rat race, you need to be a business owner or an investor. And I was like, all right, bet. I don't know nothing about business, but I know I can learn how to invest. So I didn't have any direct guidance, but what I did do was I had mentors in the form of books originally, and I would go to the library and just look up on the catalog what books they had on stocks and investing. And I would go check out all those books, and I would read all the books, take notes on all the books, and then take them back to the library and then try to apply what I learned. So now I have notebooks full of different metrics to look at for potential long-term investments and swing trading, right? And then I started diving deeper into, when I started diving into swing trading, then I was just doing research. So I didn't have any mentors, bro. My kind of standpoint was, while I was doing like my free time where I didn't have the money to pay into a bunch of stuff, it was just like, I'm gonna go scrape the internet and find out what I'm gonna find out. And that's why it took me 10 years to be where I'm at now, where there's people who have the opportunity to be in groups like this, where you can come in as a completely new person in stocks. But if you hop on all the classes and you ask questions and you engage and you interact and you try things out that we're saying to you, you can be, you ain't gonna be at where I'm at per se, but you can be pretty darn close and you can be consistently profitable after your first year because you've leveraged the network and you have access to these things. So again, I didn't have it, but that's why I created what I did, so that everybody on this Zoom, the 16,000 people who have enrolled in my courses, including my free course, can skip that 8-9 year process of developing all that knowledge and getting all that sooner. But I say now, if I could start all over, yeah, bro, I would be in every group chat, on every class, reading through. And that's what I did when I joined my first group chat. It was my 8th year of trading when I first joined the actual Discord. And I went through and read every message that the person who owned the Discord ever sent in the chat. And it was like 20, 25 pages deep worth of like messages, but I read every single one. And from there, I started joining a bunch of different Discords. So even right now, I'm in a crap ton of Discords. And that's mainly for, well, now I don't really need them, but before I was looking at how they structured the Discords, right? Or what could I learn from them? Okay, this Discord has stocks and options and crypto. I'm trying to learn about crypto. Okay, so they got crypto classes, or they got this guy doing this on crypto. Let me see what he's talking about, right? They have this lesson library on whatever, on the strat, on the way Elliott wave theory, right? Okay, I've been wanting to learn more about that, right? So I don't have any set mentors again, but I've just took a time to take the information and see where I can get the information, take it all in, and then apply it and see what works for me and what doesn't. All right, great question. So how much of the options bot confidence level is trustable? The options bots in the channel that are under the bot section, so the ones above, like the bots, the ones that have bot next to them in crypto or in Forex or in options, those are all real people making real trades. They're just sending their trades in through that kind of bot format where it's embedded. But the actual options bot that's sending its own trades, they hit pretty often. I say they have a consistent 75 to 80% win rate if you're taking profit at 30%, right? Keep in mind with those trades, there's not an exit given, right? So don't think about the same way where the traders that we have are actively answering questions, calling out trims or take profits or exits, right? That is more, here's an idea, which is really what you should look at us as, just ideas. But here's an idea and it's based on AI. So there's something that, you know, the algorithm thought would be deeming it a decent trade to take. And it would go from there. Do I use market or limit orders to exit my scalps on SPY and Tesla? I like that you just said that's all I trade, because at this point, right? So to exit, I'm using limit orders. Typically, I'm using a trailing stop. So that's why you'll see me say no trims. And I didn't actually call a trim until 200% today on SPY. I was like, okay, we're up 200%. I guess we'll trim here, right? So when it comes down to it, I enter off of market orders. That's just me, because I'm trying to get in my position, because I'm trading on a 1 minute. So I don't got time to be trying to beat around the bush over $1 less in entry. Even if I'm getting 10 contracts, you know, I'm not tripping about that. But on my exits, I'm using stop market orders to be specific, so that if it does come back down, whether I'm outside or driving, or if I'm here, it's going to automatically pull me out and lock me in on profits when I'm using that order type. I think that's the word I was looking for. It might not have been. Steve, I took the Lotto Tesla play with you and checked the chart. I saw the ascending triangle and saw you were trying to play the breakout. I like it. I like it, Steve. I thought I set my stop loss far enough down, but there's a super long wick that came down out of the bottom trend of the triangle, stopped me out, and then went back up into the triangle. Is it best to use no stop loss, or should it be one so far away you only get stopped out on a complete reversal? So what I do, bro, I don't usually set an initial stop loss. I usually will wait until I'm already in profit to start my trailing stop. So once I'm up 10%, I'll communicate to the group to set a trailing stop or a stop loss. I'm a little more adventurous, we'll say. But more often than not, bro, I don't set stops until I'm already within the trade. And I like to use price-based stops, which is why today, again, my first actual trim signal, like where I took some contracts off the table, was 200%. I didn't touch any of my contracts on any of my accounts until I was up 200%, because I was looking at the price action versus, you know, bouncing up and down with these stop losses. So I would say you don't want to set it so far down that you just know you're getting tapped out on a reversal, but you can re-enter, right? So there's another thing I say all the time is there's nothing wrong with being wrong 3 times as long as that 4th one is just a killer, right? So you can be stopped out at 10% 3 times, but then if the next one that hits is an 80% gain, who cares, right? You still up, you still made money, and that's the aim of the game, is to make money. So the other thing that you'll see I do in my channel is I talk about when a candle closes, right? So I'll say I'm entering, if you look at my SPY trade, hey, I'm looking at SPY when it has a 1-minute close below 415.50, because I'm not trying to enter off wicks. And I really don't like stop. I don't want to get stopped out on wicks, but I will exit to the upside on wicks. So I like to wait until we have a close, because once I have a close of a candle, I can see that, okay, we're actually about to make this move. And there's more confirmation to me of that direction. Did I sell NVIDIA and Tesla? Yes. I did sell NVIDIA and Tesla. I had the stop losses. Once they put up 20%, I did put a stop loss in at 10%. Because of course, like, why let a green trade go red, right? At the end of the day, I can re-enter if it starts making that move back up. And then I did do Amazon after that and sold that as well. So right now, I don't think I'm in anything. I don't think. It's good to know y'all appreciate me. I am in the Do we have any onboarding videos for beginners that we can watch to get orientation of all the channels? Great question. So we do, and we usually run a once a week walkthrough. We do have some walkthroughs. I think the recordings kind of got a little messed up in the beginning. But Saturday, we should have another walkthrough class set to go through the Discord and different channels. And then one of my things to do on my long list of things to do is create an intro video, and then also create some like short 2-minute videos that go over the different sections in the chat, so that those can always just be easily referenced. You know, hey, here's a quick 2-minute rundown of these bots. Here's a quick 2-minute rundown of our option section. So something that's on the way, bro. Great question. I just gotta do it. D-Wiz is funny. I saw that he put in the group. Any encouraging words to get to that back when you feel like you're so far behind? Oh, to get that back, I got you. You're over the mental of the previous L, but at a standstill of just jumping back in, first starting from scratch on a free course or just dipping your toes in silently. So something like I tell people, when you're losing, take a step back, right? Reassess. Because the fact of the matter is, you know, we talk about like insanity, right? It's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. If you're losing consistently, you're doing something wrong, okay? So just take a step back, close out all the trades, close the screen, whatever, and just review what you've done. Say, okay, now you can do your own trade review. I review my own trade review. I do my own trade reviews and look at what I did and why I did it in the moment. And then I'm like, okay, what could I have done differently, right? So look at what you did, and you can learn from it. And that way, if you're learning from the mistakes that you made, you stop making them, right? You put your hand on the stove, you get burned, you stop putting your hand on the stove. You run a stop sign, you get hit, you stop running stop signs, right? You trade without a stop loss, you lose a bunch of money, you start using stop losses, right? So just different things that you could do. I say just review what you've been doing and then learn from it. Or start with the education focus. We have classes pretty much every day, right? We have people you can ask questions to. We get on voice channel, you can ask questions. I have the free course where you can go in and go through the beginner free course. I have access to all my other courses for $19.99 a month, so it's $20, right? You can go through there and continuously learn and improve that way as well and study. And you have tons of other resources. You can go get books, you can go to YouTube, you can go Instagram and find different traders to see what they're talking about. So I say, you get back to the drawing board and you just review what you've done and then figure out how you're going to improve. Can you set price stops in Weibull on contracts? It looks like it's the contract price, not the stock price. Yeah, so Weibull, I don't think you can set a stop based off of the stock price. But what I do is I set an alert, and then I get an alert trigger sent to my phone. And then once I see it go ding, SPY did whatever, then I'll go in, check the chart, and then I'll make a move accordingly. Somebody's helping out. How many screens and phones do I use while trading? Typically just one. So it depends. I don't have like Jay, our trader Jay. He got like 16 screens up at his place. I travel a lot. So I'm in a different state almost every week to 2 weeks. So I don't have a fancy setup. A lot of times I'm trading off my phone, which is why a lot of times you'll see, not a lot of times, but sometimes you'll see that I'll call a trade. And when you go check your trade, or check the brokerage, I might already be up 5%. I might already be down 10%. I called a trade today on Tesla. When I called it, I was down 10%. And I said that, this is where I got in there. I'm down 10% already. But then that trade ended up going up 26% for me, right? Which means if you entered there, you'd have been up 36%. So typically, I trade off of this phone. I do have 2 phones that I keep on me at all times. And I will look at charts on one, enter a trade on the other, and send it in a group. I'll have my laptop with me and I'll maybe chart it on the laptop, enter it and send it to the group off the phone. But I don't have 16 different screens. I don't use an iPad to trade. I do a lot of my charting on my cell phone. And there you go, that's me. Everybody kind of feels differently about it. And then what do I use to send my alerts? I think you mean set my alerts. I use TradingView. So I do pay for TradingView. I have one of the premium plans that allows you to have, I think 40 or 50 alerts, which really I don't even need anymore, since I'm pretty much usually just trading off a 1 minute chart and looking at it actively. That was more for when I was swing trading. So I do use my alerts from TradingView. And that's the last question I see in the chat. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat. If you want to have a dialogue or ask and answer questions together, raise your hand using the Zoom function and you can unmute. That's fine. Or you just keep it going. But if we have like 2 minutes or so where nobody asking a question, then I'll assume we're all good. TradingView irritates you. And that when you want to look at a 1 day, it auto sets to 1 minute, but you want to default 5 minute on 1 day. All right, Kevin, I don't get what you're saying, bro. But that might just be something in your settings that you can change, right? So instead of when you typing in, you got to type in 1D for 1 day. If you type in just number 1, it's going to put you on a 1 minute. But other than that, it might be something in your settings, or you just use a different a charting platform. You can use stock charts, you can use Thinkorswim. There's different platforms you can use if TradingView just doesn't work for you. I've always used TradingView. It hasn't worked for me. I've tried TOS. I just didn't like it. After like a week of using TOS, it just had too much going on for me. So I left it alone. I see we got a hand raised. Let's go ahead and get it.
Hey, Jourdan, quick question. Okay, so you answered part of my statement with, if you're taking some L's and you just back out. So I backed out, which was fine. I had so many great wins that the L just threw me off. So I've just been out of it for a couple months. I don't consider myself just a straight beginner where I need to start from scratch, but I feel like I'm in the middle to where like, I just need to figure out how to get back on my kicker. I don't want to worry about looking at all these other ticks and everything. I've got my probably like 8 to 10, maybe 8 that I just roughly I want to stick with. I've got long-term plays in them. And I want to get back into my options, my swing trades for it. And it's just kind of like, well, dang, my long plays are in good positions right now with being a year out. So I don't want to close them. I'd rather go ahead and put some more money in, maybe just to start 500 and just do some options or some swinging from there.
So it sounds like more of a, you got to just like accept that the past is the past, and you're going to move on, right? So after you take your pause, You know, you're gonna be like, okay, cool, I'm done. Let me reset. And maybe you take 3 days away from the charts, away from screens, away from the Discord. And then you kind of reset mentally to like an even playing field. You come back in and reassess or assess what you did in the past that led to those mistakes so you can avoid it in the future, because you don't want to keep making the same mistakes, right? And then from there, you might take a different approach, try a different strategy. If you tried strategy A and it gave you, less than average or less results than you wanted, try strategy B. There's so many different ways you can structure your trade, so many different ways you can structure strategy that you can change so many different variables, right? It's kind of like an experiment where you can change your position sizing. You change your position sizing, that can make a huge difference. Because like we said, $1,000 account, if you trade the whole account, your stop loss might be 5%. But if you just trade $100 on a trade out of your $1,000 account, then you have a 100% stop loss that's still the same dollar amount, right? So that's the thing, changing your entries, right? Changing your exits, changing, like there's so many different things, right? Changing how long you're in the trade. If you're swing trading for a week out, maybe your trades work out and you look at your trades and you're like, dang, usually my trades go down for 3 days, 4 days. But then when I get out, they end up going up. Like 2 weeks later, they all up in profit. So maybe you need to trade with a month out expiration. If you see that your first week of getting in is usually down, or you change your entry so that you see it and you're like, okay, I would buy this now. This usually goes against me. Let me wait, right? So that's what I would say you could do to kind of get your vibe back, is do that, celebrate the wins, right? Personally, it's different for me because I'm calling out trades in a group of 15,000 people, and it's a lot of eyes on what I'm doing. I know there's a lot of money following what I'm doing.
Mhm.
And I'll take one loss in a week, and I'll be like, damn, I just had a horrible week, bro. I know everybody about to be mad. I feel bad. And then my team will be like, bro, you lost one trade, dude, chill out. I'm like, oh, okay. But you have to really look at and accept that, trade, you're gonna lose some trades, right? And the other thing is, when you start getting into the numbers of things, you can lose 50% of your trades or win 50% of your trades and still come out profitable, right? If you're going 50-50, but your winners are 40% gains and your losers are 20% losses, then each trade-off, you're still coming out up 20%.
Gotcha.
Right? So you could be 50-50, which means you're going to see some red, but even structuring it like that, you're still going to be growing overall.
Cool, appreciate it. I think what I needed to hear, and like as soon as you said it, it clicked. I was so busy focused on trying to get back in the entries and the exits of where I was when it took the L, that I wasn't looking for like new positions to get going. And I'm been focused on like, dang, I missed this entry. Okay, here's the entry where I was supposed to be at. And dang, I missed it. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. There's always another trade. That's another thing like I used to tell myself is there's always other stocks, there's always other trades, there's always tomorrow. And we just move on. There's always next week, there's always next month. So glad to be able to help. Let's see.
Hey Jordan, I don't know if this will help, but one thing that my wife tells me, well, she still tells me this, but it helped me a lot in the process when I will be losing trades or just going through a hard time. She will always remind me that there's a train at the station every single minute. So if you miss one play, don't worry about like, oh man, let me see the retest or something. If you was watching something else, keep focused on the other thing that you was watching. If one messed up, you have another one. So never get emotionally attached to any trade. There's always, you'll see a trade go up for 50 cents. You'll see another one go up for $5, $50. And don't give up. Everybody, when I first started, what will haunt me every single night would be, man, I just quit my job. I'm doing this. And this is when I quit my job doing it, right? I was successful, but everybody's still going to have a fear and a doubt. You can't control the voice in your head, right? You can't tell it to shut up a little bit by just always grabbing on to the positive thoughts of like, yo, I can do this. You know, I am great. And that's another reason why Jourdan put that affirmation channel in the Discord. So when people are going through things, you know, you can go receive some affirmations and repeat them, and also believe that that's who you are, right? Because you are who you become. But always keep that in mind. There's a train at the station.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Trade at the station every minute. Yeah, so
Well,
that's exactly it. Thanks for the ad, Moody. Trade view. What strategy do you use when your stop loss doesn't fill and it continues to go negative? That's why I use stop market orders and not stop limit orders. Stop market orders are going to trigger and execute immediately. Stop limit orders are going to trigger and then have a limit price kind of hanging there. So you have to wait for it to come back to the limit price to fill. Or you can just do a market order, right? So you can do a stop loss and set an alert, right? If you've noticed that for some reason, however you're setting up your orders, that they're not closing out, then set a price alert too, if you're in a position to, where it says, hey, you know, my stop loss is 30%. I set a stop market order for 30% on a sell, but at the same time, I'm gonna set an alert on TradingView, Thinkorswim, Weibull, whatever, that'll trigger an alert from my cell phone to go off if SPY goes down to 407, right? And then I'll get that alert, and I'll also know to go check it and close out. So when my trade goes into profit, do I put the trailing stop at 5% or 10%? So usually, if I am doing a trailing stop, that'll be because I'm not looking at the screen. So if I'm out, I'm working out and trading, if I'm cooking and trading, if I'm at the store and trading, I have a problem. I need to sit down. But if I'm driving and trading, don't trade and drive. But if I'm doing something like that, then if I'm actively busy, then I will set a trailing stop, usually of 10%, once my trade hits 10%. So once I go 10%, I set an immediate stop market order at break even. So that way I know, regardless, as long as I close this trade today, there's no way I can go red unless it's about 1% because of how fast the market's moving. But I'm not gonna go red, right? And then I just continuously move it up, the higher my profit goes, to where, you know, I go up 50%. I have a stop market order now that I'm setting at 40% profit, and I'll just cancel the old order and replace it with the new. All right, so that's how I do it. When I'm sitting at the chart, or like today, I was supposed to be getting in the shower. I just worked out, just ate. I was supposed to be getting in the shower, but then the market opened, and I was sitting there like, oh, okay, we traded. Then I'm not usually setting trailing stops because I'm actively looking at the chart, and I'd much rather have my stop loss based on price action, because the volatility or the time is going to start changing the contract anyway. And so my contract can move, or my stock can move sideways for 15 minutes, and I can go down 15% just off of that 15-minute sideways movement on this same day expiration contract. But my reason for getting into the trade and my analysis is still valid. And I'm not getting punked out. That's just how I feel about it. Of course, you can also exit and then wait and then re-enter. But at the same time, sometimes I'm like, bro, I'm not gonna get punked out just because we're moving sideways. I know what I'm seeing. I know what I think it's gonna do, and I'm gonna hold strong to that. And I might even average in. So I did average in today on SPY for that same kind of reason. So when I'm looking at the chart actively, I'm just going off price action. But otherwise, I do use a trailing stop, and that way you can make sure your bag is secured and protected. Kevin, on TradingView, if you hit 1D at the bottom, it auto selects 1 minute at the top. And if you switch it to 5 minute, it changes the bottom to 5D. I'm trying to learn how to select 1D at the bottom and 5 at the top. Otherwise, you get 5 minute and 5 days with the charts. Kevin, I don't know, bro. I want to help. And maybe we'll just have to do, like, on Friday when we have a Zoom where I am showing my screen and sharing charts, then you can kind of pop in and go over that. But I'm not too familiar with what you're running into. I actually know what you're talking about on TOS, where you can change the amount of days that are in there and the chart interval. Maybe you just have to, like, kind of slide it along the bottom, bro. But I'm not too certain about what you're referring to. I got one more question right now. It's 5:15 for me. So we've been on here about an hour so far. Yeah, bro. No doubt, Kevin. I want to help, but at the same time, I'm confused. And like I said, I promised myself I wouldn't pull up charts on this Zoom because then I'd be on the Zoom for like 3 hours. So we can do that on Friday when I have my class. Or if another person's running a class and they're sharing their screen and doing charts, you can ask that as well. And I'm sure they'd be happy to help. Are any moderators using the Nadex platform? Not to my knowledge. I've never even heard of Nadex. But if you guys are looking for international brokerages, talk to Avery. Avery is in Canada. She's trading off of an international brokerage, and I think she's probably switching soon, I think. So she has more experience and more knowledge related to international brokerages. But no, I don't trade on Nadex. I'm not sure what that is. And I will be getting off at 5:20. So it's 5:20 for me. So about 5 more minutes of questions, and I'll be hopping off here. Nadex is for binary and is US based. Look at y'all. When I run another poll, I'm gonna run another poll probably towards the end of this month. I'll run another poll to see what y'all want added to the chat. And we have some people who we've been talking to about futures trading. Some people have expressed binary options as being something they're interested in. So we just got to see. I don't want to make not pointless hires, but to an extent, you know, if it's only 15 people who want binary options as somebody who's going to teach it or be an analyst for it, doesn't make sense for me to bring somebody on in a paid position when it's just going to be 5 people or 10 people like following them, right? Do I know what brokerage Moneybags uses? No, but I can ask. I think Dennis said he knew.
Yeah, you want me to answer that?
Go ahead, bro.
So I must be trying to turn 500 into 1.2 mil. Yeah, I know we all trying to do that. But yeah, he used a software called Trade Ideas. It's basically an advanced scanner. It's kind of like Finvest, you know, where he can trade penny stocks on a breakout and just high volume. So it's called Trade Ideas. You go on that website. But just because you got that scanner doesn't mean it's going to produce the same results. I think he's been trading for a while. So this is, you know, something he does in his sleep. But yeah, he's pretty legit.
Thanks for that, bro. 2 more minutes on the Zoom and then I'll be hopping off. If you got other questions, put them in the questions section of the Discord and feel free to tag me. Don't DM me your questions unless you are okay with getting a 3 days response. That's just the real. There's a lot of DMs. I try to circle through text messages and emails. Like, who do you know? I'll be a day on text messages a lot of time. I'm trying to. But it looks like that's it. It looks like it's it. Any last minute questions before I close this down? And I'll of course upload the Zoom. I'll make it a point to upload the Zoom as soon as possible. So once it finishes downloading and saving, I'll swing it over to a YouTube video and then post a link in the mod video lessons. How much do I make daily trading? Great question. It's not a consistent number, I suppose. Today, I only did 1,000 today, but today I also didn't trade on my main account. I traded on 2 smaller accounts today. So today was just 1,000. Now you made me feel kind of, I gotta go. Yeah, but yeah, no problem. I try not to, and I talked to my moderator team about Just trying to figure out, you know, some people do post like their daily numbers. Somebody just messaged me exactly. But in the past, when I did used to post, like, okay, cool, I just made 5 racks today. Cool, cool, cool. A lot of people's mentalities would shift away from, let me compound what's realistic for my account size. And they're focused on how can I get this number versus what makes sense for my account size. And it's going to be easier for me trading a $10,000 account or a $50,000 account. It's easier for me to make 5 G's in a day. You know, that's 10% of my account. If I'm trading 50,000, that's not a big deal, right? But if you're trading a $1,000 account, then that's a whole different story. So I answered your question, but I try not to be one of those. We try not to be one of those groups where we're just throwing those big numbers at you, because it can have a little shift in how you think about things. And realistically, focusing on compounding what's good for your account size is the best way to think about it. I'm glad to answer. I'm glad to be here. It's 5:21, which is my hard stop, because y'all know I will go on forever and run a 7-hour class, but we're saving that for Friday. So glad to have y'all. Thanks for coming in. Y'all be great. Y'all be happy. Y'all go study, go review, go learn, and I'll see y'all later. Recording's going up soon.